And welcome to another show, Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
I'm doing all right. Happy Easter.
Yes, we are recording this on the Easter Sunday.
Yes, don't tell anyone.
No, I mean, I'm sure there's, Jesus and bunnies.
That could go many different ways, actually.
Yeah. We'll leave that alone so we don't are not blasphemous on the day of Jesus' rising.
No, not.
Anyway, you're doing stuff and I'm sitting at home because all my family's out of town or out of state. So
yeah. Well, we're the family, I guess my generation, there's part of the family that doesn't want to hang with the other side of the family. So it's been kind of like frustrating because there's this tear down the middle and nothing even happened. There wasn't a big fight. There wasn't a fuck you match. There was none of that. But, in my world, people get butthurt. You don't even know. And then you won't know for several years. And the next thing you know, the family can't get together on the holidays, which is kind of how it was. So anyway, we're going out to my aunt's house because my uncle he's not having anybody but his girls with him today. So whatever, I'm over it. Yeah, I didn't even fight about it. I don't care. I'm just going to go to my aunt's and have fun with everybody else.
Yeah, and you're going near my old stomping grounds where I used to live.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. I think it'll be kind of an easy breezy day, and everybody that's going gets along. It'll be fantastic.
Easy breezy.
Easy breezy. Yeah.
Alrighty. So, like always, we generally either have something to talk about or don't, and thankfully you do. So I'll let you throw it out.
Yeah. After our last recording, I had this kind of epiphany. When I was married to somebody who was 12 years older than I am. Mm-hmm. And so he would say, now remember, in your 40s, this, that, and this happens. And, in your 50s, this and this and that and this happens. So he almost kind of warned me because he was 12 years older of what was going to come next. And true to form, he was always right, which is frustrating, in an ex. But but he was always mm-hmm. right. And so I thought we would talk about like the different huge major stepping stones that come with each decade of life. And, I was thinking about your first through 10. That's when everything about you is turning into who you're going to become as an adult. That's where all of your connections start. That's where all of your passions, start, and wherever whatever you're brought into, you could make a whole lifestyle with, like, putting a kid in Little League, and then next thing you know, he's playing on the Dodger field, or you know what I mean? It's like everything that you do starts when you're so young, you don't even realize it's starting. Mm-hmm. So that I noticed was like my first through 10. And then my 10 from 20s was more of like becoming a human and becoming like more of an adult, and sex, and finding yourself and building your confidence, and learning what friendship is, and I mean, there's so many things that come from 10 to 20. So tons. I was thinking about all that. Then 20 to 30, that was when I kind of found myself. I went through a lot of bad relationships. I went through a lot of, friends, so-called friends. It's funny how so many people that I knew that I thought were my closest people are not even around now. Mm-hmm. But during that time, that's what you're doing. You're learning to build those relationships and find that confidence, find out what you want to be when you grow up. That was important. I remember like from 14, 15, 16, everybody's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like, I don't even know what I want to be tomorrow. Like,
right. For sure.
So I remember that struggle of going through all that. And, that was after my first love, and I broke up, and I had to learn how to move on and forward through heartbreak, which I think is hard for most people, on their first. And getting my first real job. I got a real job. I worked at Bank of America. If that's not a real job, I don't know what is.
Right.
I was a vault teller, and then I was a customer service manager. So it was funny because I really didn't take life seriously in my 20s at all. I was going out and dancing every weekend. I was driving back and forth to El Paso. I was hanging out with friends. I was getting friends in trouble with me. I did not get them in trouble. They did everything on their own free will, but I encouraged any and all madness that I could get into. And so that was like the 20s. That was me fighting myself. That was me going through beauty school. That was me getting my beauty license. That was me going on cruises and traveling and networking. And, my 20s was for me, that was a really good time. I went through women or my friends that were messing around and not using protection and getting abortions. And I mean, we were learning about real life stuff we were coming from a stupid place because we weren't evolved enough to not make certain mistakes, but we all did. And that was when I remember being in a lot of weddings. In your 20s, it seems like everybody's getting married and everybody wants you in the wedding and everybody's needing to, to get you to do these things. And I didn't like going and being in weddings. I got to be honest with you. I was in so many weddings. I can't tell you, but I didn't really like any of them. I didn't like the way the brides acted. Brides in their 20s are like bridezillas. It's got to be perfect. Nothing in life is perfect. Can we get that out of your head now? Like,
right.
That's when I learned nothing is perfect, was going to weddings and being in them.
Yeah, for sure.
And all it's about me, it's about me, it's about me. And I'm like, I don't see you paying my bills. It's not about you. But I remember those times going through all of that. And I could make a whole podcast on going through stuff like that during those years. And then when I was 29, I met my ex and we moved in together. And, then we started in with being a foster parent to our then foster child. And I was thrown into being a mom, and I didn't even have 9 months to prepare for that one. It was all just like, boom, here it is. This is when it starts, So, learning how to be a mom, learning how to go through the motions, learning how to not do for yourself because a little human needs you to be something else. Or, I don't remember ever having food that I didn't have to share with one of the kids that was around. Or, gosh, there's so many things. Learning how to live with somebody. Oh my gosh, every other week I wanted to kill the man that I was with. I don't know how we got through that. And I spent a lot of time in the back of bedroom just trying to escape having to deal with him or what he was going to say. And he wasn't even an asshole. Let's just face it. It was probably more me than anything, but he has admitted that he didn't know how to push the buttons as well. But trying to live with somebody and still be yourself and not lose sight of what you have to do and who you want to be and what your ambitions are, and helping families. That's when I was taking care of my grandparents before they passed in my 30s. And my grandmother died when I was 30. That was the first one to go. I remember the sense of loss that you feel, and how when you're a kid, you feel it on one level, but as an adult, you feel it on a completely different level. And you see, you're starting to understand consequences for stupid behavior or for not taking time to spend with people. I remember in my 30s, that was very, that was the lesson that I got, was if you don't take the time, you won't have the time. So, I don't know. You could jump in. What did you learn in your 30s? Let's go there. Or your 20s. I didn't even let you talk about that.
I mean, really, I think the base of my thing was probably between 10 and 20, because that's where like most of my friendships started, like my real ones that are going on today.
Right.
You know, like my best friend, he's down in San Diego. I've known him since I was 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I've known him, 40 years.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. So I think for me, that's a big one, but obviously not the biggest. Between 20 and 30, I was just a recluse, dumb shit that thought wrestling was the only thing in my life. So I literally just made it that. So, I was doing a lot of that until I was 20. I did it until I was 44. So to be fair, I did it for 20 years, but really around 28. So between 20 and 30, I met my ex-wife. So that's when my life kind of started going in a different direction. And then 30 to 40, I had my son, and then everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
By 40, I was already divorced. Matter of fact, I had my 40th birthday in Vegas when I moved. I sat on a couch by myself at 40 years old in a new state going, man, did I make the right decision or not?
So that would have been hard.
It was rough. I will tell you the truth. It was an interesting time just to kind of set back. But I think 20s and 30s was just between 20 and 30 was just being a dumbass. You know what I mean? Like a lot of good times. Me and my old tag team partner and another couple of wrestlers named Lester and Joey. Lester's not with us anymore, and my old tag team partner Byron's not with us anymore. But like we traveled all over California and beat the living shit out of each other, in the best way possible. Like not trying to kill each other, but just so we drove there together, had a match with each other, and then would go out afterwards. We would drive from San Bernardino, where the shows were, all the way back to Chi-Chi's in Northridge, because at that point it was open until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So we would drive all the way back, order a bunch of food at like midnight, and then go back to my apartment and watch the show we just did. Good times. And then, I would probably have to work the next day because those shows were on like Saturday. So, and then I used to work Sundays. So I would get up on Sunday morning and go to work the next day. It was great to be young because you could do that shit and it wouldn't kill you.
Right.
And then, but I think between 30 and 40, I learned to grow up a little bit. You have a kid and it changes you, whether they're a foster kid or they're yours. It's the same. You have to change as a human because you are taking care of another human being. And
That's
then
true.
by the time I was 36, by the time I was 38, I was getting a divorce and I took my son with me and I've never not had him. So I've been a single dad for, 16 years. So for me, it's like I learned a lot after my divorce, I think, just to prioritize what it is that you want to do in life. I think that I've missed out on things for sure. You date less, because you have to make sure that things are done. So it's just different. I just think you look at things differently. And then the last 10 have been just a whole other menagerie of fuck off. You find yourself in very odd positions. I think even in your 40s, going into your 50s, you never grow up. You're always putting yourself in these odd, weird, situations because we're still like I was talking with someone the other night and about age, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm 53, physically, but I'm 16 in my head. I still think dick jokes are funny. I still watch superhero movies and animation, and I'm still a geek. So like, yeah, there's things that you're never going to outgrow. And I think that's sort of the problem when you start looking the differences between men and women. I think women, as they get older, they mature and they don't think that kind of stuff. And I'm generalizing, bell curve, as always on our show.
I was going to say, because that doesn't apply to me, because the dirtier the joke, the better.
But I mean, again, we're going to use the bell curve because there's always the outliers that are like me and you, and you'll run into people like when I go visit my friend in San Diego, we generally don't talk serious shit ever.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about wrestling and comic books and movies, and because that's what
you always did.
Our friendship was always based on. So we just keep it going. Every blue moon, something will come up. Like if I am going through something with a girl, or if he's going through something with his wife, he might spill the beans a little, and then I'll say, oh, this is what's going on with me. But we generally don't deep dive into that because that's not what keeps our friendship going.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of things are as much as they differ in 10-year periods, they stay the same.
Yeah.
Which is great.
When I was in my 30s, that's when I got my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was scared every day. I remember that because I thought they were going to take her back. I thought that she wouldn't be safe. I thought that she would go back to not being protected. I remember like always having to go to court or going to counseling or going to wherever we had to go for all this stuff. And I just remember the fear of losing her or not being good enough for her or not doing things right enough for her, or not giving her everything that she needed to be the best she could be. I remember my 30s were all about worry because of that, taking care of my kid.
Right.
That was a horrible place to be in. That was also the years when I was going through fertility treatments, and they were just mucking up my hormones to the point where I wasn't even the same person. I was so frustrated all the time. I couldn't even deal with a lot of things. My 30s were really freaking hard, trying to get along with my ex when we were living together, trying to take care of the family, trying to, the extended family, trying to still be me. Oh, that was probably my hardest time in life. And it ended in the year I turned 40. And that was the year that I miscarried and my daughter ran away and my house was robbed and my mom passed away and I found her. And, God, there was just so many things. I could go on and on. I had to have my hysterectomy. So that was, my 40th year was the year of complete and utter loss. I lost everything that had to do with being a mom, having a child, being a mom, all of that. So that was like, but that was kind of like a break for me. So when all that was gone and I was stripped down to like, okay, life as you know it is over. So now you have to build up a new life. And who are you going to be in your new life? Because daughter wasn't coming back. Mom definitely wasn't coming back. My security, I had to find that again and make that happen. So my 40s were like really finding good people and putting better friends in places that I needed them, keeping the ones that kind of maybe stayed back a little because I had already had a group of people that I was hanging out with all the time and they didn't really like them. So it's like, that was my year of loss, but also a reboot on life, like to be not who I was as a kid, but who I am as an adult and being judged fairly in those areas, as opposed to when I was younger. I didn't feel like any of us were judged very fairly. But on the other hand, we all kind of were assholes. So there was that too,
Right.
But 40 was like the reinvention. So I spent my 40s really getting to know me. It's just kind of figuring things out and learning how to enjoy life and not pushing the envelope to get that adrenaline feeling. I was like, everything slowed down a little, and you don't need to have that adrenaline rush every time you do something. So learning how to be like okay in my own skin, that
Right.
was more of the 40s was getting there. I also feel like that was probably when I was um most happy with myself, and I got to learn how to live for myself again, because in your 20s and your 30s you don't do that. So that 40 was a blessing in disguise, even though it was a bitch slap. I mean, a constant bitch slap that year of 40, and then 40s were rebuilding from that. And I think even 50s are about rebuilding from that. But my 50s, I feel like I just don't give a crap anymore. Like, I'll do whatever I want to, whenever I want to. And if you want to judge me, go sit over there and watch, but get out of my way, because I'm still going to do it. And I feel a sense of like owning my own shit, owning my own who I am, where I am, and how I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think my 40s were more trying to find out where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
A couple years in Vegas kind of set me in a different direction. Not in a bad way, but then, when the market fell out in 2009, I had to come home, right? Because for one, there was no work. Vegas just died. So I was lucky enough that I had a friend who needed a roommate. And I lived with her for almost 9 years. It's a good run.
Wow. Yeah.
I had it easy. She was way younger than me. She's like my little sister, like literally. And it was interesting. I learned a lot too about like having to learn how to live with somebody again. And, and you're not a romantic partner. There's someone who is you have house rules and all these different things again. And it was a learning experience, because 2 years on my own again, because I've lived on my own a bunch of times, before I got married, I was on my own for years. So, 12, at least 11, 12. So, and then I got another 2 and it was great. I was like, man, I'm by myself. I can sit around and fucking do fuck off all I want. So then when I moved where I moved now to have an apartment again, it was nice to have that relaxing kind of, like where you're at. And I'm scared now again, if I meet somebody and decide to make that big move again, like moving in with somebody and learning them. And, there's a lot to that. So there's going to be a lot to learn in my 50s. I learned a lot in my 40s. I learned that what I want a mate again. Like, I've gone a long time without one. So like for me, I know it's something I want to be around. Do I want to get married? I think it would be something I wanted, but I don't think it's not necessary. But there's going to be more to learn in my 50s. I mean, look, I'll be 54 this year, so I'm almost halfway through those. And I've learned a lot about people in those, at least mostly the last 4 years, I've learned a lot about people. But yeah, you have to, it's a never ending cycle of learning. We're probably going to learn on our deathbed something. So
I hope it's something good.
Yeah, I severely doubt that.
And so for my 50s, we started out in 2020 with COVID. That was a fucked up start to our 50s, because I was, just at 2021, that's when I turned 50. So the end of my 40s taught me how to live in fear. Because there was a lot of fear behind that. That's why I quit watching TV. That's why I quit listening to everybody's political bullshit, was because 2020 scared the shit out of me. That's when I decided that's when we decided that we were through being married. That's when I had to move back home. That was when I had to start my life from scratch because I didn't have any clients and I was barely doing kitchen hair. There was a lot shitty about turning 50. I didn't get to have my party till I was 50 and a half. And I made sure that I had my 50th birthday party because I thought that was important to me. So we had a party and everybody kind of stayed spread out. That was unusual for my group of people. So I learned how to deal being stripped down of all security and safety again. And now I'm like, all that taught me was no, fuck this. You need to live and you need to live hard and you need to live fast and right now. So I went back to not doing something. Like I became the yes person. You want to go and do that? Yes, I can make it. You want to go do this? Yes, I could do this. To the point where my life is so busy now that I don't have time to think sometimes. So, but I learned how to be alone and I learned how to be scared, but now I want to learn how to have fun and to be with the people that truly mean something to me, because I'm finding that I do things. I'm not one to say I love you and let me hug and kiss on you. That's never been me. I'm not the person that does that. But like I got these little miniature baby Jesuses. They're not babies. They're just little tiny Jesuses. And across the sash, it says, Jesus loves you. Well, I thought it would be cool to like start putting them all over my friends' houses and leave them in the door jamb, like above the door, just leave one little tiny thing and see how long it took them to notice it. But I did that not because I'm religious and I have like a Jesus thing. It's not like that. But I wanted my friends to know that I was there and that I loved them. And that as long as they didn't take that off the door jamb, they would see that every time they looked up as they walked through the door. And it was just my way of like letting them know I was there and that I loved them. And I bought 75 of those stinking things. I put them everywhere. Everybody had them in their trailers. Everybody had them in their door jambs or on a picture frame. Anywhere I could sneak a little tiny Jesus, I did that. Only one person was like, get that out of here. I don't know why anybody would do that. I'm like, well, and that's somebody that I'm not really fond of anyway. But her husband, I was, so that's why I put it up. But everybody else thought it was funny. And they're like, stupid Tina, why would you do this? And I'm like, why not? It's from me. So just laugh and be, enjoy it. Know that something's looking over you. But I'm also the one that says stupid shit like, oh, bless your heart, or like all the things that my family used to say that I'm like, where in the hell did they get this? Now I'm like, I've joined the cult of it all. And, or I tell my friend, Billy, my friend that, what would Jesus do? And he'd always say, what would Jesus do? And we just laugh. It became something that was fun. So the baby Jesuses were something I did. And then I made sure, because I want to make sure that if I die, my friends know, like the people that put up with my shit daily know that I love them. So I got each of them a little sun catcher that it's a little moon, and with the women sitting with their backs like they're looking out. And every one of my friends got one of those with that look like them and look like me. So we're sitting together having a drink. But I'm finding in my 50s, like we're losing people and we're losing them young, and we need them to know. We need them to know feelings need to be stated, and people that mean something to us. I'm finding that I need to say that more to them. Even my dad's best friend, we grew up with this other family, the mom, the dad, and the two kids. And the two kids were my brother and I's age. So we went all through school and did things together always. And he has dementia. And he actually used to listen to the podcast all the time. I don't know if his son still does, but he did. And he was the one that said that you cuss too much. And I was like, yeah, I get that, But anyway, he came down with Alzheimer's, and watching watching his disease kind of take over has been like frustrating, and it makes me so sad because this man never did anything bad to anybody. Like, he was just the nicest guy ever. And to watch him not know things, or to be seeing things that aren't there and stuff, and making sure that he knew, like, he was coherent enough to say to me, he goes, "I'm sorry I didn't talk to you enough or communicate enough. I think it's the disease." And I told him, "Oh, I didn't notice. Like, you've always been like that, where you just like check out." We didn't know I made a joke about it, but he said, "Just so you know, I really, really, really love you." And I said, "I really, really love you too. And you have nothing to be sorry for, and I'm here for you." And that moment taught me that it is time to be closer. It is time to reach out. It is okay to be vulnerable with your people. And if it isn't, you're just with the wrong people. So that's what my 50s is kind of teaching me now.
I agree. I think that there's something to, if you have relationships that are built with people, you have to do your best to keep them going regardless. Yep. We're at an age now where, like you said, tomorrow could be your last day.
Yeah.
So I would rather make sure that the people in my life are close. It is very much needed, because time is this weird thing. And even though things are either good or bad right now with people, you still need to keep them in your heart. And because look, weird shit happens in 5 years.
Yeah.
Who knows where we're all going to be in 5 years, and who you're going to be around, where your kids are going to be. There's so many different things. I like it, like this podcast, because I just looked this up. Do you know when we started this?
Probably 3 years ago.
The first episode came out September 16th of 2021.
4 years ago.
Yeah. Oh,
holy crap.
Yeah. So, 4 years this year, obviously. It'll be in September, it will be 4 years. But it's gone by so quickly.
Yeah.
I look at, since I do the uploading and editing and all that fun stuff, we have over 180 episodes. And, to think of it like that is very, for me, is very like, oh shit. Like, yeah, we're going to sneak up on 200 episodes soon, where we thought, where we thought sitting at a Denny's, I hope we get to 11.
Yep. And then I remember it was a big deal when we got to 30. Yeah. Then it was a big deal when we got to 50. And then after that, I was like, we're good.
Once we hit 50, the big thing for me was 100. If we could just make it to 100. So I look at all these things as building blocks of where, what we've done. My 20s were wrestling. I was a wrestler, and that's what I did. Like, that was a bulk of that. The second 10 years, at 30 to 40, was me being a dad, like a serious dad. And I put pretty much everything else on hold.
Mm-hmm.
All my personal life. I've rarely dated. Too. I've rarely dated since I got divorced. Even in the last 16 years, it's been about my son and making sure and that things are okay. But on the flip side of that, I'm very much like about a lot of things where, like, life, people are just like, aren't you worried about money? No, it's just money. Like, life will go on if, or jobs. Like, if I lost my job tomorrow, I'll find another one. I don't, I do my best not to panic over shit like that. It's like, that's probably why I still have some hair, and most of my hair is still not gray, even though it's getting there. I just try not to panic anymore. I try not to, there's so many more things that can make you happy. Money is not one of them. Everyone I know who's it's a good start. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make you happy. People who are chasing that life are going to be miserable because they'll never be happy because they only see it as that thing. Like, I hope I have this, or I hope I end up with somebody who is going to do this for me. I want someone who's going to love me, and I want family that's going to love me, and that kind of thing. That's the only shit that'll keep you actually happy in this world. The rest of that shit is all nonsense. I see a lot of homeless people that look really fucking happy because they're just hanging out.
Or they're high.
Or they're high, but I mean, you know,
high.
More power to you.
You know what else that my ex was very smart to tell me? He said, you better move in your 40s. Because if you're not moving in your 40s, things are going to stiffen up in your 50s. And you're definitely not going to be able to use them. And you're going to lose your strength in your 50s if you don't stay active. If you're not, using your body, you will be stiff. And he did say that. He goes, that's still very true in your 60s. Like, you need to move. You need to be active. You need to not be sitting in your chair every day watching TV and not moving, or sitting there until you have to pee so bad that you have to jump up to get your exercise to run to the bathroom. Like, I've noticed he was absolutely right on that. I'm glad that I've stayed moving. I'm glad that I eat better than I used to. So that was a good thing. I was lucky that he gave me kind of like a cheat sheet to what was going to happen next, and he still will, now that he's in his 60s. He's like, you're losing people more. You realize that life is, most of it's behind you. You have to live for the now, so I've heard him say so many things on that it resonates, and I'm looking for them. But the taking care of yourself in your 50s, your health, that seems to be his big, you need to take care of your health in your 50s. Things will happen, and life will get kind of wild, but you need to make sure that you are taking your vitamins and taking your medicine and going for those walks and doing what you need to do to keep your health going, because you start to see the decline in your physical body.
Without a doubt. I was listening to, I want to say Tom Segura's podcast, but I'm not positive. But he was talking about, like, just what you said, even the most minute lifting of weights. Doesn't have to be heavy. It just has to be that you're doing it. Because we're breaking down. Like, I have a torn bicep and a torn rotator in my shoulder on my right arm that I'm going to get fixed. I'll tell you right now, I'm panicked over it, but I want to do it while the healing is okay. Yeah. But I think I'll heal better right now than I will in 10 years. So, but coming out of that, I have to start thinking, okay, how am I going to get up and exercise still? Because I go to the gym at least 4 to 5 days a week. So I'm going to have to be able to get up and still go and get on the treadmill and still walk. And I'm averaging about 10 to 12,000 steps a day.
Nice.
So, and you're right. It changes who you are.
Yeah.
And I think for men, you have to start, at least from my standpoint, start looking at, like, make sure you're getting tested for testosterone levels. Yeah. It's super duper important. It's super important. If your testosterone's low, get it replaced.
I was seeing on social media the other day that if you want to naturally raise your testosterone, stick your balls in freezing cold water, like ice water, and that will make your body jump in testosterone naturally.
That's probably true, along with exercise. I had a low testosterone, lower than it. I mean, funny thing, still within the regions for my age. But when I started this whole trip down exercise lane, it doubled. So
really,
yeah, just
so exercising boosts your testosterone.
Yeah, and the bigger thing too is, like, for a man, the last set you do, lift as heavy as you can. because what happens is your body goes into overdrive. It goes, oh man, I can't really lift this. I better start producing testosterone to help that the next time it needs to be done. So yeah, but again, it's an important thing, because I have friends who, I was just talking to somebody yesterday about it, and their level was low. And I'm talking like my level was like 280. Now it's like 400 and something, almost 5.
But couldn't get up to like 1200?
Yeah, naturally.
If you're in your 20s, yeah.
In your 20s. He was at like 150. Like he couldn't get out of bed. He was tired all the time. So yeah, it's important. And that I'm starting to look at that in my 50s. Like, where do I want to be at 60? Because I know I've punished my body. So losing 50 pounds, keeping it off, exercising way more has changed who I am for sure. I mean, I feel better. I have way more energy, and that's what I want to do. And, look, we all want to travel. I think that that's kind of the thing that is what we do is in our later years. But like you said, midlife is really 35.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not at our midlife. I mean, if you're lucky, if you're 40 and you live to be 80. So you got to live for the now. And that's what I've kind of decided. I'm just going to kind of do whatever I want to and go along the highway and see what happens.
Well, that's what you got to do.
The next 10 years are going to be an interesting thing. Where do I end up? Do I stay in the state? Do I boogie? Do I find somewhere to go for someone? Do I find someone and then go somewhere else? I think there's a lot to be said to that.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it a lot. I think the epidemic of alone is really rough. So I think that your 50s and 60s is where that all starts. Kind of the basis of, where you end up. Friends are big. I think that we should just make sure you're keeping in contact with the people that are close to you, on any level.
And what's nice is that now I really know who my friends are and aren't. And my friends and I, we have a really good time together. Like, who would have thought, Rob, we'd be doing this for 4 years? I didn't. We were sitting in Denny's going, fuck my life. I hate COVID. I don't like feeling like this. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And now we've been doing this for 4 years, pretty much steady with like a speed wobble as of late.
Yeah, but that's not even, I think we've missed like 4 or 5 weeks ever.
In 4 years.
And that's not even in a row. That's like a week here and keep going and a week here. So.
And we didn't even take vacation like off season or anything.
No, we haven't taken a break. Even the times that you went on vacation, we had several shows in the can so they could come out.
Yeah.
So
we're going to have another one for a couple of weeks from now. I'm going to go to Big Bear for the weekend.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. We'll knock them out. And look, I just think that life, in 10 years, bunches, you're kind of right. Look back on them.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done in these blocks of 10 years and think what you can do in the next 10? There's a lot of life still left to be lived. But I think that you have to have some kind of roadmap, right? Like, where do I want to be? I think the friendship thing is the biggest thing for me. I've kind of lost touch with some people in my life, and it's time to kind of knock on their door again and be like, hey, I just want you to
recheck.
Know just a recheck. Yeah. And most of them are all out of state, but I think that I've kind of lost myself in certain things over the last couple of years. And it's time to make sure that everybody knows that they're important to me.
That for me is a really big thing right now. And what's funny is I don't think the way I see it is I'll probably be one of the last to go. It's not like I'm going to be the first one tapping out on this earth. I just don't see that. There's still purpose for me to be here, but I do notice a lot of people are starting to go, and a lot of people are getting really sick and at any point could go.
Mhm.
And so I just feel like I need to be close. I need to let them know. I need to be more affectionate because I'm not that affectionate with them. And I notice that my friends follow my cues. So if I'm being better, they're going to be better. It's just, that's how it works. It's a trickle down effect.
Right.
So I've noticed that further than I ever thought before, that the importance of being there for your people, your community, they're what give you strength. Like I'm thinking, Dad's getting ready to have a surgery. He may not be around for the next 10 years. So who would I fall back on if not my father? Or how are me and my brother going to do this? And not that we can't, it's just, you start to wonder. I still think of myself in my 20s and not having anything figured out. So I'm already thinking, what do I need to do for the next 10 years? And who's going to be there for me? And we don't have those answers. So we just have to figure out like how we're going to be the best we could be right now. And who do we want next to us as we're doing that right now?
Right.
So,
yeah, my thing is, the only thing that I'm kind of like you is you look at the people around us, like my son. I just want to make sure that he has some kind of idea. It's already rough. He's going to have it rougher than we ever did.
Oh, for sure.
So just some kind of, hey, I'm sure he'll be okay after I'm gone. I'm not utterly worried about it because, look, you have to be okay with it. You pick up the ball and run with it. I think that's with everything. I was talking to somebody the other day and I went, look, life always goes on. It just doesn't wait for you.
Not at all.
So, my thing is make decisions based on truth and what you think. Because if you can live with them, that's the best part.
Yeah. And again, life is not perfect, nor do you have to be. So if you're really messing up somewhere, that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's where you're going to learn your lessons. So mess up. You don't need to be perfect. Drop that whole way of thinking.
Right. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we knocked that out. Another week in the books. And what's the last thing you want to say here on your journey of 10 years?
Ooh. I don't know. You got to think like you're living a long time, but live like you're not living through tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that there's I think Tim McGraw song, sometimes you got to live like you're dying.
Yep.
And
I really think about that song all the time. Like when my dad said he had colon cancer, I was like, well, Dad, what are we going to do? And he's like, well, I want to live. And I said, okay, then you live now.
Yeah.
Like you start today, like right now, not tomorrow. So that means no sitting in that chair in your bedroom, wasting your life away, watching shitty TV, lonely and miserable, and get up and live now. And I played that song for him and he was like, yeah, I get it. But, and I know he gave me the yeah, but you know what? I know he gets it because I saw the look in his face. Like he could say whatever he wants to, but I saw it. And
exactly. So, I mean, that's all of us. Look,
we all got to do it.
I'm 50 something years old and still getting tattoos.
Yeah. I got one too.
I know. So, I saw yours.
Freaking crazy. And I got to go back to get it touched up even.
I showed you mine, right? The one on my leg.
Yeah. Big tattoo.
And I just got a cover up started Friday.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're way more into it than I am.
I'm getting this cover up. I started a cover up on my very first tattoo. And unfortunately he couldn't finish it because he had to go upstate. So the guy who did my leg is starting the cover up. I'm going to fix that one. And I'm going to do one more on my other calf. And then I think I'm done.
Damn. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
There's some big areas on your body that are getting tattooed, and I could hardly stand the little one I got on my.
Oh yeah, I got
my shoulder.
It's big. My calves are like massive. So like when I say I have a big, it's big. Mm-hmm. It's literally from the cuff of my knee where it bends all the way to my ankle.
Yeah, it's big.
It's all of it. It's a big tattoo. It's awesome.
Very much so.
All right, guys. Well, just so you know, you can check us out on all the social medias. If you're following us on those, you definitely get them. So you can go on Facebook, Instagram, X. Oh, I don't know. I post it everywhere. I'm sure you guys see it. And then, check us out on Apple, Spotify. Those are the big two, but you can check us out on anywhere. The podcasting things are
everywhere.
We're everywhere. We're everywhere. Trust me. And it's an opinion show. Don't get it twisted. Keep coming back every Wednesday. For Tina, I'm Rob. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Don't get this twisted.